Hey guys, and welcome to the Leftover Culture Review, the only review show on the internet that's true blue bloody fair dinkum Aussie and is so personally invested in your personal finances that I am more than happy to look at your books for you. Please send through your credit card details, your bank account names, your date of birth, your age, your location, as well as any CVV numbers that I need to know about. I would be more than happy to take a little look at your books and work out how you can manage your money better. This episode is proudly brought to you by a bunch of bloody crooks. There are millions of people out there right now, and some really wealthy animals with a very big problem. And look, financial decisions are the most hardest to deal with in life. They can pull families apart, they can break up long-standing friendships, and cause a lot of unneeded stress both at home and at work. That's why the Bruiser Pocket Money Fund is so important to me. Basically, we're opening up our wallet for you to put your money into it. Best of all, there is no maximum payment threshold. Now, we do recommend a minimum donation of $2,000 a month. We really think that's achievable for really anyone who wants to be part of the Bruiser Pocket Money Fund. So look, take your opportunity now and congratulations, you've earned it. Anyway, today I'm here to talk about something I am super passionate about. This bad boy back here, a console that is so powerful. I had to sneak it inside this country, back inside to this games room. If my mum knew I got my Atari Jaguar back, she would be so ruddy miffed with me. But luckily I snuck it in disguised as a Super Nintendo. No one suspected a thing. She's like, oh, what's that weak ass console doing in this house? Have fun with your little toy, Bruiser. And I'm like, ha ha ha, little did you know, it's an Atari Jaguar. It's an Atari Jaguar with the pack-in game Cybermorph. Look, I've done my research. I know that Cybermorph wasn't particularly well received when it was released back in 1994. The internet hasn't had very kind things to say about this title, and that really shocks me because some of the nicest people I know actually hang out a lot on the internet. I'm talking about you guys. Anyway, I didn't feel like this game particularly got the justice it deserved, especially when I look at the really bad attempts other YouTubers had at checking this game out. So I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why you'll want to check out Cybermorph and why I think Cybermorph actually gets a pretty bad rap. And look, first and foremost, this is the cheapest Atari Jaguar game I've ever purchased. Actually, buying games for this system is getting incredibly expensive, and here in Australia, the console itself never got released. So we're stuck buying overseas games, overseas consoles. I picked up Cybermorph, the cartridge, for about $11 US a few years ago now, but if you can get it at a good price, I really highly recommend it, because rolling into that second point, Cybermorph is a 3D game. The Atari Jaguar came out a little bit after the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive, but also before the Sega Saturn and the Sony PlayStation. 3D gaming wasn't really a home gaming staple yet. We had 3D gaming in the arcades, 3D gaming on computers, but on those home consoles, the Atari Jaguar really was one of the first systems to bring 3D gaming to the mass market, and I am stoked they managed to do it on one of their pack-in titles. This game was released alongside Raiden and Trevor McFerrin, The Crescent Galaxy, 3 spaceship shooting titles released around the same time, and Cybermorph is the single 3D title to really debut with the Atari Jaguar, so that was really encouraging to see. And third and the final point that I could really come up with is the Atari Jaguar emulation is still really sketchy. I think it's gotten a lot better, and I actually made a video all about Atari Jaguar emulation and the closest I got to actually having playable games through an emulator and what games worked well and which games didn't. Cybermorph, you can actually go check it out for yourself. It does work through the emulator that I used, but I still really recommend having the original hardware, the original software to play it on. The emulation itself is still buggy, it's still glitchy, So yeah, I do recommend having the original hardware to play it on, especially if you want to experience the entire game from start to end without having really weird interruptions. So look, 3 reasons to check out Cybermorph. But seriously, what are we waiting for? The Phoenician Empire is taking over the universe and we've got everything we need to fight them back right here. Let's go Cybermorph! Welcome to the front line. I am super stoked you could tag along and just witness this with me. It scares some people. We're talking about 1993 era 3D graphics. The polygons are big, they're bright, and they're boxy, but I find it quite beautiful. This was the start of 3D. This is the future, and this is 3D gaming at your house in 1993, brought to you by the power of the Jaguar. So one thing that does shock a lot of newcomers to these parts is just how expansive the Phoenician Empire has taken over the galaxy. We are having to reclaim 32 different planets, each with their own story, its own history, its own structures. Each planet is different. There are desolate research facilities to sprawling metropolises, and we are here taking out the Phoenician Empire, planet by planet, reclaiming those data crystals. And yeah, this ship is seriously well equipped with the best technology this galaxy has to offer. You get Skylar, your little virtual personal assistant. She comes by to wish me good luck. I'm an awesome flyer. I don't hit the terrain. No one's telling me to watch out. But Skylar will show up. You can turn down her volume if you want. But she will show up and she will tell you where the crystals are. Give you a little bit of luck along the way. And look, I've seen some really terrible pilots out there who get Skylar getting mad at them all the time. My only advice is don't worry guys, you'll get better. One day you'll be able to drive as good as me. But the weaponry is where it's at. You get some seriously destructive weapons in this game and it's up to you to decide when to use them. You've got weapons that can destroy enemies in a flash, not to mention level an entire city block with one bomb. It's important to get those data pods apparently. So important that you don't mind wiping out entire civilizations. I know we're the good guys, but sometimes as good guys, we just need to run rampant and destroy a whole planet. But look, I trust you guys. I would trust you guys with the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. That's why you're watching the Leftover Culture review, because you guys, ace. So look, I want to be blunt with you guys. This is a massive galaxy. There are 32 worlds, not to mention the special stages and the boss fights as well. I don't need you hotheads coming up in here and getting yourselves annihilated on my turf. So here, I'll put a few codes up on the screen. Study them well, rookies, because you will need them. The boss fights themselves, they are super brutal. But look, I wish you guys all the best of luck. Don't be too hard on yourselves out there. It is a brutal, brutal fight, and there is nothing you can do. I died. This game is actually a really big challenge. There are so many different worlds, so many different enemies to face off against, and so many bosses. I seriously recommend checking out some cheat codes. But look, you may have noticed a lack of Skylar, our green-faced assistant who tells us, you know, all the time, where did you learn to fly? She's snarky, she's annoying, and she's like the worst version of a GPS ever, but you can actually turn her off for this game. You don't have to play with her. And look, if you get better, maybe nearly as good as me, you won't be hitting into the scenery as often either. It's not that hard to fly and pick up this game to check out. It was a lot more fun than I ever expected. So Cybermorph is often touted as the failed pack-in title for the Atari Jaguar, but this game was being developed really early on. Like, it was the pack-in title, it was the first game available for the system, but it was also being developed for the system that came before the Atari Jaguar. So Atari had 2 systems on the go at the same time. They obviously had the Lynx, the handheld, but for the home consoles they had the Panther and then the Jaguar. The Panther was going to be the 32-bit little brother to the Atari Jaguar system. They ended up scrapping development on the Panther and putting everything they had into the Atari Jaguar. More powerful, obviously, but a lot of the games that were being developed for the Panther, that includes Raiden, I'm pretty sure Raiden, but Trevor McFur and the Crescent Galaxy, as well as Cybermorph, that development was moved over onto the Atari Jaguar. And look, Cybermorph initially was supposed to be a bit of a tech demo. They were showing off what the system could do, and they were using Cybermorph as a way to do that. It actually ended up getting fleshed out into a full game, obviously, and packaged with the system. I don't think it's the best game they could have chosen, but if you wanted to show off those 3D graphics, which obviously they did, the Atari Jaguar could do 3D at a time when no other major console was. So they wanted to show off their 3D gaming. They had this tech demo from the Atari Panther and they developed it into a full game. I think it's a really solid effort, but the game itself really proves what was going wrong with Atari at the time. Looking back, it's a lot of fun living here in the future and checking out the advertisements and just how much hype was around this particular system. But going back, it would have been so very disappointing hearing about the 64 bits, hearing how much it got hyped up, the 3D gaming, the graphics, the sound, and then plugging in Cybermorph and realizing that you've been lied to. The Atari Jaguar advertisement was extreme to the maximum. Atari did not hold back. They really pushed their system and they pushed the hardware.
Ben, Cybermorph only on Jaguar by Atari. Captured by Jaguar.
And I do think the amount of games that get really hyped up is an interesting discussion, and Atari were obviously doing enough of their own hype. They were the hype machine for the Atari Jaguar, but there was one gaming magazine in particular and their review of Cybermorph which really stands out from the time. It is a lot of fun looking back at the hype for these video games, and even still today I think gaming itself has a really big hype problem. It's always so much hype surrounding some of these releases that you just can't live up to the expectations. Atari Jaguar obviously didn't live up to the hype Atari were pushing, but there was a really interesting incident with Cybermorph as well, where a game magazine, a Game Fan, got a pre-release copy of Cybermorph. They took it back to head office and they just reviewed the heck out of it. They spent 2 days like locked in a room just playing this game, did a 4-page magazine article on it, giving it 10 out of 10, game of the century. Turns out that the coffee pot in the office was actually laced with LSD, so whoever was reviewing this game, they actually just had a really good trip playing Cybermorph and they thought it was the best experience they ever had. Looking back, it's all a little bit silly, and having the internet now, like, game reviewing just doesn't work that way. People can really see for themselves as soon as the game is out what it looks like and if it lives up to expectations. But it's just a really interesting incident from, you know, that time in gaming, that time when I grew up, when you would read the magazines, you would read them cover to find out more about your favorite games and what looks exciting. And an incident like that really doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth. So before you guys totally check out of this video and go buy your very own copy of Cybermorph just because you've been so impressed by what I've been talking about, I did want to quickly touch on its sequel, Battlemorph. Now, Battlemorph looks better. It plays better, there's more things to do, but it's released on the Atari Jaguar CD, and I'm never going to get enough money to be able to afford my very own Atari Jaguar CD, and I'm never going to be able to clean enough ashtrays to afford an Atari Jaguar CD. My best bet really is making one myself out of spare parts I find on the ground. It's the most realistic option at this point. But look, Battlemorph as a game looks better, it plays better, there's more things to do, but fundamentally it goes against why I enjoy Cybermorph so much. Cybermorph was cheap to get, and it's a really good introduction to 3D gaming on the Atari Jaguar. I think there's some really strong 3D titles there on the system, including Iron Soldier, including Alien vs Predator, Skyhammer. There are just some really good examples of 3D gaming that I don't think Battlemorph would be the game that I would go to really impress people with what the Atari Jaguar could do. If you're a collector, fine, but I don't think Battlemorph is for everyone, but I think most people can get behind why Cybermorph exists and actually enjoy themselves while playing it. So guys, to play us out for the rest of this episode, I've actually found some Atari 2600 fan versions of Cybermorph. I thought those games looked really cool, thought you would really appreciate being able to check them out. Talking about Cybermorph, again, there is an emulator you can check Cybermorph out on. I've been using RetroArch with the Virtual Jaguar Core. So if you want to check out Cybermorph for yourself on your computer, whether it's a Mac, a PC, a Linux system, you can actually check out Cybermorph using RetroArch. and the virtual Jaguar core. There's a video all about it right here on the Leftover Culture Review. Thank you guys so much for watching and putting up with my fan obsession with the Atari Jaguar. Again, it's a really interesting system. There's some really unique titles on it, and I think Cybermorph as the pack-in title, as an entryway into the 3D gaming for the Atari Jaguar, I think is really worth checking out. If you can get it at a decent price, please don't clean too many ashtrays for it because you will be disappointed. But absolutely check it out first. Click subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, leave a comment in the comment section, and please tune in next time for some more Leftover Culture Review. I'm Chris Bruiser. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. It's finished. Anything you want to say?
No.